China wants to expand in the Pacific, and so does the United States, so let's meet in the Philippines. Now, as most people have heard in the news, Taiwan, what is China gonna do with Taiwan? Well, besides Taiwan, China really only has one direction they can go in if they want to expand. They're not gonna go into Japan and South Korea for obvious reasons. They're a tough military, so why not push maybe towards the Philippines? And so, due to all this Pacific drama, the United States wants to officially expand its military bases in the Philippines. Now, quick history lesson and a quick myth debunking. I think under the US perception of the Philippines, everyone thinks that we've always been great friends. Considering the Philippines and the United States during World War II, they mutually bonded against a common threat, Japan. And there's always been a special commitment since 1951 that the United States would defend the Philippines. However, in the 1990s, the Filipino Senate shut down the biggest Air Force and Navy bases in the Philippines. Now, it's not like the Philippines and the US military, they haven't always been allies, but it wasn't up until 2014 where the Philippines and the US military, they signed a special defense agreement where the US military can expand into the Philippines. But back in 2014, China wasn't on the Philippines' radar. It was more about ISIS back then, and militant militia groups that were threatening the democracy and the government of the Philippines. Now things have changed, and our current administration is really pushing to make sure they have proper defenses against Chinese expansion. Also, Taiwan will now have a tactical buffer zone where if Taiwan needs to retreat into another nation, they can go into the Philippines, or the Philippines can send troops into Taiwan to help defend the island. Oh, and if you need some more evidence as to why the Philippines needs to be concerned for China, recently the Filipino Navy recovered a Chinese rocket, and confirmed, unconfirmed, the Chinese used force to try and get their rocket back. And the Chinese are denying all allegations. They're saying it was a peaceful exchange. But when rockets start landing in your waters, that's a sign that, hey, we maybe should start to get ready for defending our nation. Now, in my opinion, I think this is mainly going to be a task for the Marines, Navy, and Air Force. Possibly some US Army soldiers going into the Philippines. But for some reason, I think we still forget that there's quite a lot of action going on in the Pacific, or there's a lot of buildup going on. We tend to think of military operations in North Africa, Syria, the Middle East, but this is where the US military needs to figure out how much are they willing to spread and flex their military. Massive amounts of deployments are going over into Europe, and on the other end of the world, the military is going to have to focus and figure out a doctrine on how maybe to potentially stop Chinese expansion. And I kind of stutter saying that because it's wild to think in our generation this is becoming a legitimate threat. And as they say, history does repeat itself, so keep your eyes on the Philippines.